Hey everyone.
Welcome back. Another episode of our the Disney channel.
Today we're going to be talking about our top 5 considerations when you're planning a Disney trip.
Right? I dressed for the occasion. I'm actually going to take it off, but I wanted everybody to say, Disney. They must be going to Disney. So I wanted to go over those. So we kind of got together, talked about what things we consider when we're taking a trip. We came up with 5 good ones, and we kind of did those together. So we're going to go over each of those and then kind of discuss a little bit more about each as we're going through. So we'll say like number 1, and then we'll say what it is, and then discuss it a little bit. And that way, that's kind of the format of how it'll go. That way, you can always go back and rewatch something if you had another question about it. And definitely, if there's something we don't cover or we talk about a little bit, but you want us to give you more information about that, just let us know in the comments, and we'll either comment back and let you know, or we'll make another video to go a little bit more in depth about what we were kind of talking about when we went over something.
So what is number 1?
So the number 1 thing that I said when you're planning a Disney trip, the first 3 are kind of questions. The first one was, what's your budget? Can you afford to do this vacation? So last year we went in, was it April? And in the summer we were looking, I work at a Boy Scout camp in the summer, and I got some time off, and we were kind of planning a vacation then too. And I looked at how much that vacation cost, which we went for over a weekend somewhere else. We ended up going to Montreal. No, we went to Niagara Falls. So I was looking at Niagara Falls or Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I was pricing out that vacation, which was pretty short, a little bit shorter than actually our Disney vacation, and it ended up budgeting in just under what our Disney vacation was. So what happens is when you book your Disney vacation, if you do it like all inclusive, so you do your dining plan, you stay on property, you get your tickets, and travel's really included. Also, if you're flying into Orlando International, because they'll ship you right from there to Disney for free, and then you can ride the buses and stuff around Disney, things like that. So really, when you get that first look at how much that vacation's going to cost, it's jarring. It usually is quite a bit of money. And then you look at another vacation that you could do, and you say, well, if I'm going to go to the beach, I'm only going to pay this much for the hotel. What ends up happening is you can take that and you look at it and you say, well, if I'm only paying X amount for the hotel at another destination, so like Myrtle Beach or Fort Lauderdale or something like that, you're not taking your other parts of that into consideration. How much are you going to pay for food for that entire vacation? How much are you going to pay for transportation when you're there? No matter where you go, you're going to have to pay to travel there. You're going to have to pay to fly into Florida or drive to Florida for Myrtle Beach or for Disney. You're going to have to fly in or drive to Myrtle Beach. If you're going to go to Myrtle Beach, you're going to have to fly or drive into Niagara Falls or Montreal or wherever you're going to go. You're going to have to pay to travel there. That cost I don't really add in at that time because it could end up being more or less depending on where you're going, no matter what you're doing, or where you're flying out of or driving out of. So that was like a big variable. However, your food and your lodging and your travel once you're there, those things, they're gonna kind of be a little more static. So when I'm planning that out, I'm gauging it off of what's another vacation going to cost. And the other thing that I took into consideration when I was looking at going to Myrtle Beach for those couple of days, I think we went for 3 to Niagara Falls, right? Is, okay, so you're going to get there, and if it's the beach, you're going to check into the hotel, and then you're going to go to the beach. Well, now what are you going to do? It's the beach. So yes, you want to relax on the beach and you want to have a good time, but that's going to end up being like 3 or 4 days on the beach, and that's really all you're going to be doing. Unless you're going to pay extra money to go do other things, golf, mini golf, go to see shows or go to like a club or something like that. You're going to pay more money, and those costs need to be added in because when you go to Disney, most of that other stuff ends up being included. Okay, the parks is included, and there's much more that you can get done there. It's not just that one thing.
And I was going to say, if you're not staying on property, that's also things to consider. Like where all your meals are going to come from, all your transportations. But if you are staying on property, you can get the Disney dining plan, and the transportation is free. They shuttle you from your hotel to the parks. And from the airport, it's the Magical Express.
Magical
That will
Express.
take you. And what airport is it?
It's not Orlando Sanford, which we flew in the first time and we just Ubered to Disney. It's Orlando International.
And that one will take you to your hotel.
To your resort, yes. And then it'll pick you up from your resort and take you back to the airport when your trip is done. So all in all, it's great. But like Jessica said, like you need to take everything into consideration with that budget. Are you staying on property? If you're not, then then it's like a la carte. You say, okay, well, this is how much the hotel's going to cost wherever I'm going to stay. There's also, I'm trying to think of the word. There are timeshares. Disney has some as well, but there are timeshares outside of Disney, and sometimes they'll say, well, you can stay for free for a couple of days, but you have to go to a seminar. And those are not necessarily the greatest things to necessarily get into, but it's also free place to stay there while you're there if you wanted to do that. So there's other ways to go about staying down there. You could stay with family or friends if you have family or friends that are down there as well. But we find for ourselves that our stay is much more relaxed and budget friendly. I mean, it might be a little bit more, but for us, we build that into the budget. We know how much we have to save for that by just staying on property. Let's move on to number 2. Are you ready? Okay, so we're going to move on to number 2. Number 2 is your availability for that vacation. So I have vacation time that you could get out of work, or if you're in school or your kids are in school, their vacation time. Holidays, there's always time off during holidays that you could go. And again, I have school, so people don't necessarily go to school in the summer. We're associate teachers, so we have the summers off, but we usually don't go during the summers due to the heat. And I, again, work at a Boy Scout camp in the summer, so I don't necessarily get all that much time off then. But that is, what's your availability? And I think you had talked about that as well.
Well, more the time of year that you were going to choose to go.
Okay.
Just to take into consideration what the weather is going to be like. If it's going to be really hot, or if it's going to be like really rainy, like hurricane season around that time. Just think about how you what's the word? How you fare in certain type of weather.
Okay, right. I love the heat. I love the summer. I'm outside all day in it during the summer. So whether it's in Pennsylvania at a little over 100 degrees or in Florida at over 100 degrees, it's not going to bother me too much to be either of the two places. So I could go during the summer. The heat's not going to bother me, but I know that it bothers some people. I personally don't like a lot of cold, so I don't necessarily travel places when it's cold. So if we were for some reason going to plan like a Disney Paris or Disney Europe, whatever, I wouldn't necessarily want to go in the winter because I'm not a snow bunny. I don't like the cold. So definitely take that into consideration. We are going in late August, early September this year, and that is hurricane season. I knew that going into it, going into the planning. So we're just going to plan accordingly, plan a lot more indoor stuff just in case as our plan Bs, just in case there is inclement weather. When I went when I was younger, let me think, I think I was in 3rd grade. So when I was younger, we went during hurricane season, and I know like Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, we only got to see half the show because they weren't going to do the pyrotechnics due to heavy wind because there were storms going on. So we know that going in. The last 2 times we went, we didn't have to worry about any major storms, but it's Orlando, and you're always going to have some type of rain. What we did have to contend with was crowds. Because the last 2 times we went over spring break, over Easter vacation. So that's one of the busiest times. Not the busiest time, but definitely one of the busiest times. But again, we knew that going in. And if you plan ahead and you know that going in, those crowds aren't going to bother you quite as much as if you go in and you're like, I didn't know that this was going to be a really busy time. So definitely look that up ahead of time because you don't want surprises, especially, I should say, you don't want bad surprises. You always want good surprises, like the Mickey bar that we talked about in our first video. Those are good surprises. You don't want bad surprises. You don't want to show up and, hey, I want to go into Magic Kingdom and I can't get into Magic Kingdom because they're at capacity. You do not want that to happen. So definitely plan ahead.
And also thinking about if there's like a certain festival at Epcot that you would want to go to, or any events or decorations for Christmas and for Halloween. There's different decorations that they put up, and they start them like
Pretty
I think
early.
the Christmas decorations they start putting it up sometime in November. So you don't have to go like the week of Christmas to see it. You can go a little bit earlier when there's possibly not going to be as many people trying to go over Christmas break or
Right, and we are kind of doing a similar thing. We're
Yeah.
going, like I said, early or late August, early September. They're already going to have Halloween decorations out, and the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party is happening, and that's something that we took into consideration when we were planning the trip. We wanted to do that, so we booked it at that time so we could specifically go to that party, that event. The park does shut down early that day for those guests. So if you are planning to go around that time, but you're not planning on going to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, you might not want to go to Magic Kingdom on a day when that party is going to take place because they shut the park down a little bit early for that party to happen. But we definitely did go over the past 2 years during, was it the Flower and Garden Festival at Epcot, and it was just amazing. And we didn't plan to go just because of that, but it was definitely
just happened.
awesome.
Yeah.
Right, when we went. They have extra carts out for food, and most of those count as a snack credit, right?
Yeah.
So we got some just great food there because of that. So definitely do your homework. And hey, when is a festival going to happen that I want to go to? When are decorations going to be up when I want to go? And if you are going, if you can't avoid it and you have to go over at a busy time, just plan. There are certain websites, and we'll talk about those later on as we talk more about planning in another video, where you can kind of gauge crowd sizes and how long lines are at certain rides on certain days. And we'll go over, like in another video, how we went about doing that. We did not run into much trouble at all, even though the parks were extremely crowded the past 2 times that we went over those crowded times. So we'll move on to number 3. All right, so our number 3. I'd said for number 3, what is or what are the big things or the big thing that you want to do with this vacation, okay? A lot of people say, my big thing is going to be a Disney vacation. And they don't go really beyond that, but you really should. You should break that vacation down, especially by day, into what you want to get out of that day. What's your main goal? Some examples that I have here, and again, we'll probably hit on this big time in another video, but I put down food, rides, characters, parks, parades, shows, festivals, or just relaxing. If your big thing is to eat at some really nice restaurants, well, those are probably not going to be your quick service restaurants. You will probably be eating in a sit down, and that might take some time away from going and doing something else. You might not get as many rides in as you would if you were doing just quick service. Or if you want to meet certain characters, but you also want to ride rides that you know are going to have long lines, well, you're not probably going to be able to do both. So you want to plan one thing as your A, and something else as a backup just in case that falls through. So if you say, we want to ride, let me think of a ride that had a long line, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. If you want to ride that ride and it has 2-hour plus wait time, there might be a chance that you're going to not be able to meet certain characters. But if you get there and your number 1 is to ride that ride, set a limit for yourself and you say, if the ride line is over 2 hours long, then I'm not going to wait in that line, and I'm just going to ride it the next trip that I make to Disney. I'm going to go meet 3 or 4 characters in that 2-hour time that I would be waiting in the line. That's your B plan. So always have that backup plan, because the last thing you want to do is get there and then be disappointed or upset. make sure that you have those extra plans. Or if you plan on riding, again, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and the weather is not all that great, or there's mechanical issues and it's shut down, then you're not going to be able to ride it, obviously. So you're going to have to go and do something else, especially if the weather's inclement. You want to have some indoor rides planned, or there are shows that are indoor at most of the parks that you would be able to go to. And we did that a few times, and even lucked out sometimes. The first year that we had gone together, we went and we rode Pirates of the Caribbean, not expecting to come out and it had rained while we were inside. But it rained while we were inside, so we missed all that rain, and
we missed it.
It was great because we were inside and out of the weather. We didn't even know that there was weather happening. But if there was weather happening and we knew that we had to go somewhere, where are you going to go? So while we're planning our trips, we're saying, okay, well, we expect that Magic Kingdom is going to be open later on these particular days, and we try to plan our Magic Kingdom days for those days. So we get extra time in the park than we normally would have. And then if we know we're going to be in Magic Kingdom 2 days, we split the park up and as evenly as possible. So we might say, okay, our first day there in Magic Kingdom, we're going to split it up and we're going to do Liberty Square, Fantasyland, New Fantasyland, and then Main Street USA, which I think kind of skips a little bit because it skips Frontierland and Adventureland. But it's one that if we miss out on something, then that's okay. But we do that because then we can jump around that area without having to zigzag around too much. But if something comes up where we're like, hey, there's no wait for Big Thunder, and we're already in Liberty Square, we can just hop right over and do that. So we have some flexibility, but we try to make sure we plan that out as best we can. And then the next day that we would go to Magic Kingdom, we'd hit Tomorrowland, Adventureland, and Frontierland with the knowledge that we could jump back and hit anything that we might have missed the day prior. Any characters that we still wanted to get that we didn't necessarily see, or any rides that we might have missed out on.
And that might save you on a little bit of walking.
Right. Because there is a lot of walking going on. Sometimes we didn't plan all that well with Epcot because that's huge and that circle, and there's really no way to get from, let's say, the American Pavilion all the way back to the Mission Space or something like that. I think is exactly what it was. We were coming back to Mission Space. There was really no way to get there without walking completely back around. There's no straight shot. But those things will come up, but know that they'll come up and kind of work around them. Do you have anything else? Are we ready to move on?
Yes.
All right. So here's number 4 is having the temperament for the Disney vacation, managing your expectations. We want to go to the Magic Kingdom. We don't want it to be the Tragic Kingdom. We don't want it to be No Doubt's 90s ska album, right? It's the Magic Kingdom. And you want to have that magic. You do not want to go into the park and then have just have anger overtake you with the lines, and saying oh my goodness, it's raining, stuff like that. There's not a lot that you can control yourself, unless you've done the planning. And if you've done the planning, you're probably not going to run into those issues. And I know the last 2 times we were at the park, we were having a great time. We planned really well. So the lines that we were in were not really bothering us because we knew that they were going to be a certain amount of time going into it. So we were in line for something, and we hear people complaining about the lines. We hear people complaining about the crowds and the prices and things like that. And it's well, why didn't you plan ahead? And I know that some things will get frustrating from time to time, but if you find yourself in a situation where you could get frustrated, move on to something else, and just remember that you're there to have a good time. And there were times when I know, not that anybody could help the situation, but a kid ran out in front of somebody that was walking fast to get somewhere, and they collided, and the kid probably got hurt a little bit, and the person that was running somewhere to get somewhere probably got hurt a little bit. And really, I guess the parent probably could have watched the kid, but the person that was trying to get somewhere fast probably should have watched where they were going also. It was not something that either one of them could handle that situation much better than what they could. It was an accident, and accidents do happen. But if you have kids, make sure you watch your kids, because they can kind of do something that might surprise somebody.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna tell the story about
I was leaving it up to
how
you.
I got a kid jumped on me. So we were walking by the castle where the kind of the back of the castle where
Right.
the pillars are.
There are some pillars, some ramparts, right?
And we were walking through, and there was a kid climbed
The other side where we couldn't
on,
see him.
yeah, holding like this. We walked past. He jumped right on top of me.
As we got through the walkway, so he didn't see us and we didn't see him.
And my skirt got pulled down, and I got a big rip in my skirt, and I was really upset because I was Disney bound as Ariel that day,
Ariel,
so I
right.
was really really happy about my outfit, and then I got a rip in my skirt, so I was a little upset for a while, and then I just tried to push it away because I didn't want that one thing to ruin my day.
Right.
And the father did yell at the kid, which I was kind of happy about that. But he also should have said, "Hey, don't be climbing.
Don't
on
climb
that
up
thing."
there, right?
Yeah.
Because if that kid would fall and get hurt, then I don't want to see somebody get hurt at the park either. Not either one of us, and not the kid definitely for climbing in if he would fall or something. But so like pretty much what I'm getting at there is
Things may happen,
Right.
but you're at Disney, so just try and be positive about it.
all right. So our number 5 is
Plan, but leave room for adventure.
right, which we had kind of talked about a little bit before, because if you overplan, then you're gonna miss out on some stuff. That so we didn't ended up not getting it, but we also weren't expecting to even see her, the fairy godmother. So so knowing that all of a sudden she pops up, and they'll do that. They'll just pop characters up that you were not expecting. And if you hadn't planned at all, and you overplanned, then you're going to miss out on those things for sure. So
Something when we went in 2017, we had just met Tinkerbell,
right,
and we were in the gift shop, and we just walked out of the gift shop, and Snow White was there. So we didn't know she was going to be there. We weren't expecting it. I'm not even sure where we were heading to at that next point. But since Snow White was there, we quick got on her line, and we were able to meet Snow White. So,
right.
Something that we weren't expecting, and it just popped up.
And it was just those kind of moments that just happen are awesome. Like they're great. So we had talked kind of about the weather. Plan for that weather. Make sure you have ponchos. Make sure you plan some indoor activities in the certain areas where you're going to be at. So if you know, hey, we're going to be in Fantasyland or New Fantasyland, what rides are indoor or what shows are indoor? Things like that. Like where can I go to get out of the rain? Because yes, you may have the poncho, but who knows how bad that rain's going to be or for how long. So just make sure you know those nearest shelters where you can kind of stay out of that weather. But also know that you've planned, hey, I want to ride this ride, and you get there and the line is X amount of hours long. Well, I know that I can just go and do this other thing. When we had planned our first trip there was at 2017, and we had a reservation at Be Our Guest. We rode the rides that we had planned on riding that day, and we knew that we were kind of ending with Be Our Guest, and it was maybe 20, 30 minutes until our reservation, and the line for Haunted Mansion ended up being really short. So we knew to check the app and check what times, how long lines were, the wait times for characters or rides, and we found that the Haunted Mansion line was not very long, so we ran over there.
And we also asked a cast member about how long she thought that it would take us to wait in line and get through the ride, because we told her that we had the reservation, and she said that she thinks that we would have been able to make it, and we did make it.
Right. So yeah, we waited in the line, we rode the ride, and we made it for our reservation, and it worked out really well. So if you know, hey, I'm leaving myself some room here or some leeway on either end of something. So I think what ended up happening is we had a fast pass, and we could either ride the fast pass at the early end of the hour or the late end of the hour that we had it for, and we rode it on the early end, so we had that little bit of extra time. and then we were able to ride Haunted Mansion as kind of a treat, like a bonus. And that was our adventure that we got to have that we weren't really planning on. So definitely leave yourself that little bit of room for doing something in an area where you may not have planned it out completely. So you leave yourself that extra 20-25% that you have unplanned, that you can walk around somewhere where you weren't necessarily planning. All right. So those are our top 5. If you think we missed anything, or you think that maybe there's something else that's important, or you have any questions, leave a comment. If you have somebody that's going to Disney and you think that they'll get something out of this, share it with them. If you have just general family or friends that are into Disney at all, send it along to them also, because there's definitely going to be something that everybody's going to get out of it. We're getting something out of it, and we've got something out of the videos that we've watched of other YouTubers that plan Disney that were helpful to us. So we want to give back a little something by making these videos ourselves for you guys. And again, we're trying to build that community up. So like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so that you know when we post new videos up. That'll be helpful for you guys, and it'll be helpful for us also, because we want to see that what we're doing is helping you guys. And we know that by seeing, wow, a lot of people are watching this, or a lot of people have shared it or subscribed. That helps us know that we're definitely helping you guys out. So if you have any questions, or if you have any ideas for future videos, let us know also. And we'll try to either send you a message via the comments, or we'll let you know via another video. So definitely check out other videos that we've done prior, and check out the videos that we're going to do in the future. Hopefully at least every 2 weeks we'll be posting a new video, if not a little more often. So until the next time we post a video, we'll see you guys later.